So I've decided that I'm going to start off this project by focusing on slicing and cutting, which is one of the very first things that he writes about in his book, and getting comfortable with the knife and getting cleaner cuts and more like symmetrical slices of whatever you're doing. So yeah, I think that's going to be the first field that I kind of touched in before I actually created the dish. So Gordon starts his book off with a lot of prerequisite things. So for that, I decided to focus on like cutting and slicing for one of the first things. So it would not pertain to actual cooking, but getting up your comfortability and speed with slicing. So basically my strategy going into this without actually cooking beforehand would be to work on mechanics and things that he covers. So he walks you through a lot of cooking and a lot of like heating and the science behind it so you can understand it a little more. So to start, I've decided that I am making fried rice today. So I am going to head to the store and we'll see what we get. So I'm back from the store, and for our fried rice, I picked up carrots, celery, seasoning, brown rice, and 2 eggs. So, through the philosophy of Gordon Ramsay, he stresses a lot in his book, and something I'm still very, very bad at is preparing your ingredients and preparing everything and laying it out all in front of you and everything like that. So I'm definitely going to start with that. So naturally, we are going to start by letting the rice cook while we get everything else together. And I got frustrated with the bag, so we already messed up. So we're multitasking here. We're going to bring our water to a boil while we rinse out the rice and get everything else ready. So we are going to rinse the rice. Gordon does go over very, very briefly about starch coatings, which basically if you don't pour your rice and rinse it out beforehand, then you'll get this like gross, dusty like color that comes out in the water. So we are going to avoid that. I have an awkward angle, now you can't see it, but just know that I'm using this strainer and I'm straining the rice. So now that we have our rice and water's been brought to a boil, we're going to focus more on like the produce and vegetables. I think I'm going to do the eggs last. That makes sense to me. So while the water's still boiling, our recipe calls for 1 cup carrots. So I washed the carrots, they're looking a lot better actually. So when Gordon's writing, he actually goes over quite a bit with like knife techniques, and one of like the easiest for beginners when you're not doing something super fancy, just like carrots like we are, is just a parallel finger right here. So I haven't had much chance to actually practice this, but it seems pretty straight. So it's a little on the light side, but we have our cup carrots here, and our water is boiling, so we're just going to put the rice in there. So while everything else is getting going, the rice is getting cooked, that should take upwards of 50 minutes, it said. So I'm just going to put my cup carrots in here in this cup conveniently named. I want to be honest, this recipe originally called for peas and onions, but I'm not really a fan of either, so I subbed for carrots and swatched off some of the celery. And it looks like we need 1 small stock, so that should be like 1.5 to 2 cups. And we already chopped the carrots, so this should be a little more straightforward. So unfortunately, we're still waiting on the rice. And timer says we have about like 20-ish minutes, but I'll check up on that. So I guess in the meantime, I'm going to start getting the eggs ready. So I have to make a moral choice here. Obviously it calls for soy sauce, but I also have right here a teriyaki marinade sauce. And that sounds pretty good, but I don't want to disgrace Gordon, so I'm not going to lined up in one nice cohesive shot. Everything that's left to be added is our cup celery, our cup carrots, our 2 eggs, our soy sauce, and I'm not sure you can read that, but we have 8 minutes left on the rice timer. So something I really like about the book as I was reading it and like a week prior, something I've definitely improved on till like today was organization. And here I made like a little checklist of just like order of operations, because sometimes I found that I get ahead of myself, and I still do that even though I have kind of learned a lot from this book. So basically here we just have the strained rice, we heat the skillet, we oil the skillet, we fry the rice, we fry the egg, we chop the egg, and then we'll add our seasonings. As much as I appreciate like rice and just grain like that in general, like raw, I'm starting to think life would have been a lot easier if we just used minute rice right here. So, we are going to grab the strainer again. And this is a part I need to be careful with, because earlier on I had some problems with this. We're just getting a little bit out of the bottom, and this was also briefly mentioned. This was just like a little cliff note by Gordon Ramsay. Was with rice, like in nature, it will soak up the water like natural. But since we are frying it, we want it to be as dry as possible, so that our skillet heating will be as quickly as possible. So that looks about right. And so now we're going to start in portions. We are going to start taking the rice and putting it into the big skillet. Thankfully, this one is actually already heated, so we're just going to grab our oil and get a nice little coat on here. So we're going to let that sit while we grab the rice. So we're going to start to add our carrots, as well as our celery. So thankfully the oil has calmed down quite a bit, so we're able to put more rice in here. And we're gonna start getting full exposure to the rice as much to the skillet as we can, since the veggies have already been in there. And that's all for the veggies that we have. I would like to put in more egg, but we'll wait for a second portion. So now we're going to grab a tablespoon for our soy sauce. We're going to do 2 tablespoons for this portion. We have a 5 seasoning blend here. This is just kind of an all-in-one, and it's very general. That's why I picked it out. So this stuff is actually kind of sweet. It has a lot of cinnamon in it. So we're going to put a very, very small amount. Due to lack of a better container, we're going to be using this Tupperware bin. So everything is still a little more wet than it needs to be, so we're going to spread this out a little more and let some of that moisture just kind of evaporate off so that we get a little bit better texture before we move it into the bowl. And then we have a lot of rice left, so I might just go ahead and chop up more carrots, maybe on camera, maybe not, and we'll make more. So I'm ready to move this into an actual container, and since we still have so much oil, since I did not measure the oil very well at all, we're just going to go ahead and put rice straight into this one, and it should speed up a lot more with the new egg. And I also cut up more carrots. That right here. We're gonna add our soy sauce again. We're gonna do it on the rice this time so we can visually have a better gauge of how much we just put on. I definitely feel the improvement from a week ago when I tried the celery with the whole parallel finger thing. So we have our celery we just chopped up. We're going to add to the mix. We add another egg. So I decided to not beat this one since I didn't feel that big of a difference the first time I tried this with dropping the whole egg and dropping the beaten egg.